All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Joseph Hansen. I'm the president of a company called Outthink Group. And it's an honor to speak at WordCamp. I love WordCamp. I've been to a few of them. But I can honestly say that WordCamp changed the trajectory of my life. And that happened about 3 years ago. It was the first WordCamp I'd ever attended. And so it's pretty awesome that I can come back to WordCamp 3 years later and give a talk on the things that I've learned in running my business. So a little bit about me before we kind of get into this. So first of all, I know nothing about business. I really, I've learned a little bit, but I didn't go to school for it. I don't have an MBA. I didn't know how to put together a business plan or even a proposal, 4 years ago. So a lot of this stuff of running a business and working with clients and stuff like that. Working with clients I was used to, but not actually being the guy to be on the sales call. So about 9 years ago, I was offered a job working with a guy making websites, just a kind of a normal deal, we made websites for anybody who would pay us money. I was the first employee. He was a freelancer who was growing his company, and that's when Outthink was formed. So I was the first employee. So for the next 6 years, I continued to do more work. I kind of rose up in my responsibilities, and I kind of saw everything as kind of like a personal exercise in getting better at whatever it was, because I didn't know if Outthink was going to last. It was always like one of those things where I'm taking a job, I'm not sure if this is going to last a long time, so I want to kind of have my skills ready in case I need to jump ship at any given time. But I was invested in the company, and I wanted to make it grow. And so I kind of gave a lot of my life to it. Well, for the next 6 years, by the way, Outthink, we're an online marketing company for authors. So we help authors grow their platforms so they can sell books. That's what we do. And we niched ourselves in that shortly after I started. The founder of the company, a few years after we did that, he started writing a book himself. And then he launched his own book to decent success, in fact. Then he created an information product. And so we had this kind of line of information products, and the brand really became a lot about him as the thought leader and less about the company overall. So I started running more and more of the day-to-day operations, but I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't happy having so much responsibility in that situation, but not having ownership of the company. It wasn't my company. I just worked there. And I didn't really have, that was kind of the trajectory that I was headed, and I didn't really have a choice. So a friend of mine, this was 3 years ago, a friend of mine said, hey, let's go to WordCamp. And I was like, all right, I'll go. But I was kind of thinking, I don't know why I'm going, because I'm going to quit this job anyway, because I wasn't happy. But at WordCamp, I sat around people like you guys who all do the same thing, and I realized how much I love this community and how much I wanted to be a part of it. And it was then that I decided that I was going to go back home, and I was going to talk to my boss, and I was going to say, look, I'll run your company, and I'll even try to grow your company. But I won't do that for your company. I want it to be my company too. And so that was, looking back, now being an owner, it's a pretty ballsy move. I walked in and I said, I want to be a partner. And he smiled. He didn't reply with like GTFO, whatever. And so he was like, I was wondering if you were going to come talk to me in some form like this. So over the next couple of months, we worked out an arrangement where I would buy him out, and then he would take his intellectual property, and he would be his own guy, and then I would take over the company. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. I didn't know. There was so much stuff that I didn't know, and I was so unprepared for what I was about to do. In Donald Rumsfeld's words, there are known unknowns, and then there are unknown unknowns. So there were so many unknown unknowns, and that's basically what I'm talking about today. So that's my story. 3 years ago, we launched the company, we relaunched as me being the owner. We sent a letter out to all of our clients that the transition is happening. Joseph is now the guy to talk to. That was a really hard transition, though, because I hadn't been selling. I didn't know how to sell. I hadn't been marketing us, and I hadn't been doing a whole lot of consulting. A lot of that stuff was happening on his side, and I was thinking I'm doing so much because I was overwhelmed because I was doing so much, but I wasn't doing some of the things that were really, really key to bringing in money. He did give me one piece of advice before he left. So he's now no longer a part of the company. He still refers work to us and stuff, but he's no longer a part of the company. He gave me a great piece of advice before he left. He said, you're going to face fear more than you ever have in your life with this. So don't make decisions out of fear. And so that's my first point, because it was the first piece of advice that I received. Be brave. Because, you know, this is a matador, a bullfighter, right? He's facing down this massive muscle that is this bull that could kill him if it wanted to. But he's in control of this thing, and that's what makes this dude super brave. And sometimes some people have this idea of like what an entrepreneur's life looks like, or what a business owner's life looks like, and they go, like, they're this guy here, like, oh yeah, man, that's cool, you're a business owner, you're successful and stuff like that. But it's really more like this, because, like, you know, you're just hanging on. Like, every day there's something, and you're like, God dang, I thought I was done with something, but there's always something. So you have to get up in the morning and you have to, like, all right, I'm going to deal with that thing today. We're gonna do it. But you know, sometimes you're this guy. I don't know if you guys know what this is. A rodeo, by the way. I'm from the South, so like this is like, you know, that's a rodeo clown, and he's hiding out in a barrel because this freaking bull is pissed. How many times are you that guy? Because I'm that guy. Like, I know that, like, oh man, my email's piling up. The clients want me to call them, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do that because, like, I don't know what they're going to say. You know, like, I'm super nervous. So you can probably identify, if you run a business or if you're a freelancer, you can identify with this guy in the barrel. So you don't want to return the calls, you don't want to check your email, you want to avoid the problem altogether and hope that it goes away. But this is the point, by the way, when most people go, why don't I just get a job? Screw this. Like, man, I remember when I was in high school, I was working at Lowe's. It was so easy. Like, you know, and you start to fantasize about a job where somebody else is, the buck stops with somebody else, and you don't have to deal with that responsibility. But you can't make decisions there. Sometimes you have to do things that scare you. The reason I'm here today is because 3 years ago, I made a decision that changed my life. And I'm here to face my fears. And in fact, the title of my talk here wasn't my idea. It was Giles, who's back there. I don't even know anything about Game of Thrones. I haven't even seen it. So I don't want to, sorry to bait and switch you guys, but she suggested that, and I was like, because originally it was, I know nothing, right? But she was like, you should make it, you know nothing, Jon Snow. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, so I just want to be completely transparent with you guys. I don't know anything. I'm learning as I go, but I think the more I learn, the more I grow as an adult, the more I realize nobody actually knows everything. Like, I work in marketing, and I work with these giant PR firms at like massive contracts. They do not know what they're doing, and I'm like, well, that makes me feel better because, geez, I don't. My second point is to know your value. Now, this was so key for me, and like everything started to change as soon as I started to realize our value. And in here, okay, it wasn't like in here. It's something that you have to own. You have to know that you're worth it. And that I had a hard time with that because I was just the guy who, like, behind the scenes was the guy who built the websites. I was never the guy who the clients were like, oh man, I'm so excited to work with you, Joseph. It was always like, I'm so excited to work with you, Tim, and then Tim would kind of hand the client off to me. But I didn't have that rapport with clients that Tim did, so I didn't understand. So for the first few months of me taking over, we were failing. I had to lay off my designer. That sucked. But the thing is, as soon as I started to figure out what it was that made us different, what it was that made us unique, then that's where things changed. And so, like, I want to define what value is. So this is the definition of value, or one definition of value: the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. So value, oftentimes people, like, immediately following value, somebody will talk about price. But price is a part of value, but it is not the thing. Value, knowing your value is really important. It takes tons of different forms, right? The guy who was giving a talk earlier, he was talking about how like they might do migrations for clients, and it's a really involved thing, and that's something they want to use in their marketing because that's value, right? Making really complicated things not complicated is a value. Being a good person, I'm serious, guys, is a huge value. Having passion is a value. Communicating, the way that you communicate, that can be a huge value. And you got to think about, like, we sometimes will make, or speak for myself, I will make assumptions about why somebody might want to work with me. And it's like, well, I've built 200 websites for authors, and I've worked with almost as many. So obviously, you want to work with me because I work with so many people. But you know what? Time and time again, the things that people are affirm in working with us is that we're good people. A client of mine said this. He said, "You're a good person, Joseph." He said, "Look, when I get on the phone with you, your expertise is assumed. But we're getting on the phone so I can make sure you're not an asshole, and you can make sure I'm not an asshole." And I was like, well, that takes it takes a load off. Okay, so you assume that I know what I'm doing, and oftentimes this is the case. In the sales call, that is the case. Listening to a client whenever they're telling you their problem can be a huge, it builds rapport, and it tells them that you're actually interested in what their problem is. And one thing I see some of my other friends who do this, the mistake they make is that they try to sell websites. You shouldn't do that. Don't sell websites, because Squarespace sells websites, and they're cheaper than you. Okay? Don't do that, because a website is a commodity. And if somebody can go get a website, go sign up for Wix or Squarespace or whatever, they can do it themselves. You want somebody who doesn't, they have more money than they have time. That's what you want. You want someone with more money than they have time. And if you think about like the product that you're actually pitching whenever you're on the phone with somebody, think about late night infomercials. Has anybody like stayed up late and like you're watching a late night infomercial and you're kind of tired and you're watching it and you know, you're going to turn the channel, but you can't find the remote. You're too damn lazy to turn it off. And then like all of a sudden you're like, I need that. I don't have one of those things. I need that thing. You know, whenever you see like an infomercial about like an ab machine, they have a guy on there who has like an 8-pack, and he definitely didn't get it with this machine, but that's the guy. They're not selling the ab machine, they sell the abs. They sell the product is the solution, okay? And that's what you find when you listen to their concern. And if you're a developer, speaking especially to developers, don't solve the problem yet, okay? You will go ahead of yourself. You'll be thinking about the solution as they're telling you the problem, and you're going to get distracted, and you're not going to hear the full problem. So if you take the problem, then you repeat it back to the client, you know, that is going to be, that's going to go a long way toward that initial call to proposal being accepted. So you want to ignite desire in the hearts of your client. And you don't do that by being the cheapest. You don't. In fact, you want to be your client's first choice in all cases except for one, and that is when you're the lowest price. Because if someone chooses you because they're the lowest price, then they won't value you. They won't treat you with respect. They're going to be a pain in the ass. The lowest price clients are probably the most pain in the ass clients that we have. It's true. What you want is at the end of that call, this. Right? Because it's at that point, it is not about, it's not about should I hire this person. The question then becomes, can I afford this person? That's the question that you want them to be asking is, oh God, like, man, the only question now is, can I afford it, right? And so it makes it a lot easier to close that. So that's my bit on knowing your value and overall, like, this is the sales process. But you have to know it in here because value is going to affect everything. Whoops, sorry. It's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your ability to sell. It's going to affect your conviction to know that you're worth it. Because if you're quivering on that, if you're faltering there, it's going to come across in the call. It's going to come across when you communicate with your clients. So, all right, my next point is that systems remove stressors. My first point, be brave, because this is scary. It's scary for me. I'm an anxious person, so like this stuff is especially scary for me. I'm probably the only one though. So systems remove stressors. Think of all of the many different things in a project that can go wrong. How can you avoid them before they happen? they cause a lot of anxiety. Uncertainty causes anxiety, and anxiety is a wet blanket over creativity. You cannot be creative when you're worried. It's very, very, very difficult. In fact, I think there's actually science that proves this, but I don't know. You'll have to consult some journalists that write about that. So, so this is kind of the cycle. It's like this. Uncertainty causes stress. Stress causes anxiety. Anxiety kills creativity. Repeat. Because now you're like, I can't be creative. And now it gets worse. It's a repeating cycle. So the solution is systems. So, and by systems, I mean an organized or established procedure that you run, right? I've had a bunch of jobs when I was like younger, and I was a lifeguard, and as we were in like lifeguard training, they were like, what do you do in this situation? And like the first thing was always like activate the emergency action plan, and you're like, he's like, this guy's not breathing, or this guy's laying down, you don't know what happened, what do you do? And you're like, we're gonna perform CPR, and they're like, no, and they're like, smack your hand, and they're like, activate the emergency action plan. And that's what I'm talking about. You activate the emergency action plan. So this is our project flow. I'm proud of this flow chart because this is like something that we worked on over time, and this is what we run. And I'll kind of run through it with you real quick. But so the first phase here is the project initiation phase. Then it goes to design. Then it goes to build. Then it goes to test. Then it goes to launch. Then it goes to post go live. Now, at these points, here's what we did. We analyzed all of our pain points along the way. And we said, okay, well, we have certain pain points that are going to be like down here. We send clients, we ask them for logins, thing one. Why? Because whenever you're about to develop a site and you're like, hey, I don't have the login for your domain and we need to go live, but if you can find that. And then they're like, oh, crap, my cousin who set up the site has it and he's traveling Europe right now, or like, there's some extenuating circumstances. So let's solve that problem first. And what we do here is we try to run through, it's never as seamless and smooth as this, ever. But at least this gives us an idea. And you know what else it does? It instills confidence in our clients as we're going, as we're working together. That they're like, oh, these guys have a plan. So I don't send this to my clients, but on our kickoff call, I go through what we're going to do. And I use this. I just say, okay, so this is the kickoff call. Here's where we are in the phase. And we have outlines that we go through on every call. We have a sales call outline. We have a kickoff call outline. We have a design questionnaire. We send our clients questionnaires to ask them questions. Then we get together and we review those things. And, because oftentimes you think about checklists, about like how you launch a site and you want to like make sure that search engines are enabled because you don't want to be that guy who gets the email and somebody's like, my site's not showing up in Google. And you're like, oh yeah, just give it a couple days. It'll resolve. You get bit by that once. It's like that saying, shame on, or like fool me once, shame on me, fool me. No, whatever. You guys get it. You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, George Bush, one of our previous presidents, had a hard time with that phrase too. All right. So this also allows you to manage your clients' expectations. Actually, before I get to that, quick story about systems. This is why I'm such a believer in them. So I would get on a call with the client, and then I'd give them a proposal, and then they'd get the proposal, and I'd be worried that they wouldn't accept the price. I'd be like, I don't know if I scared them off with the price. And Jael goes, why don't we add price as an item, as a sales call item that you ask about budget? And I don't know if you guys have ever asked about budget. Here's how it goes. You say, what's your budget for this project? Oh, we don't really have one. What are your prices? Or whatever, because nobody wants to say, oh, we have this money laying over here, because then you're like, well, I happen to have a website that costs that much. But I did ask. So we added it. I said, okay, good idea. I added it. And it's kind of awkward, to ask about money. But so I got to that point in the call, and I saw that checklist item, and I was like, I'm not going to ask it. And then I was like, nope. Jael added it to the thing for a reason. I'm going to ask. I said, so what's your budget for this project? And she goes, well, we don't really know. So we wanted to find out from you what your prices are. And I gave her the price of our most expensive thing and another thing that she could add on to that. And she was like, oh, yeah, well, send me a proposal for all of that stuff. And that was my most expensive proposal I wrote this year because I asked one question. And I clarified it. I would have undercut myself. I would have, because I'm like, I can't spend this much money on a website, but So that's, anyway, there's another point on that I'll share in a minute. So manage client expectations is another really, really huge thing. And 3 stars. So I have a theory about 3 stars. I think 3-star reviews are failed expectations. I think whenever somebody buys something and they expect something out of it and it doesn't deliver, they don't give it 4 stars, they give it 3 stars. Because they don't hate it. It's not a 1-star review. But they don't like it enough to give it 4 stars. I feel like the 3-star review is like, they're okay, and I'll keep working with them, but I don't really like that experience. And you want 5-star reviews. And so the question you have to ask is, what is your client expecting in this relationship? So you got to put yourself in the client's shoes. What are they expecting out of the relationship? They definitely have expectations, so let's find out what they are as soon as possible. So the usual suspects of this that we try to clarify early on are how you communicate. Are you going to call them? Are they expecting that you're going to come visit their office? We're in Virginia. I'm in Central Virginia. I live in a very inexpensive place to live, and none of my clients live in Virginia. My clients are in New York City. They're in LA. I have clients all over the place. So I'm not coming to anybody's office. Sorry. I'll get on the phone with you. But how you communicate is important. You need to communicate that. Are you going to use a system like Basecamp or something like that? And who are they going to hear from? Timeline is another item. So what's the timeline of the project going to be? What's going to happen if things slow down? Who's going to slow it down? Who's most likely going to slow it down? The answer is them. And what are you going to do when that happens? What about content? You guys ever have, nobody has this problem, right? You build a site and the client's like, I love it. And you're like, okay, well, give me the about page content. And they're like, I'll get to that. And they never do, right? So you say, look, you're going to slow me down with content. That's probably going to happen. What are we going to do when we have delays? Okay, what are you going to do whenever they're traveling the globe and aren't able to get back to you? So how are we going to handle that? What's your protocol? And those are all questions that you have to work out in your own systems. But these are the things that you want to talk about with your clients, because these are the things that are going to be more gotcha items. And budget and the scope. So this project includes these things, and this is what we're going to do. But inevitably, if you we build assessments for clients because a lot of authors have assessments. So anyway, but they always want to scope creep that. And so what are we going to do whenever they start to scope creep? So one question that we ask at the beginning on our kickoff call is we say, what are our conditions for victory on this project? What's going to make this project a success? And this is a great question to ask because the answer allows you to determine what their expectation is. I'll give you 2 examples from one side and the other, which is one, which a client said. She said, I'll be really happy if we have 25,000 people on the email list by the end of the project or something. 25,000 people on an email list with no big network, with no traffic. Okay, let's temper that expectation. All right, so let me just say that might not happen. I see what you're saying there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I say, well, that's a lot. We haven't seen that kind of growth except for in these cases. So this is what we need to make that happen. So we can kind of let them know that that expectation is not realistic. But if they say, I want the project to be on time and on budget, we can do that. We can work with that, okay? So do they have a realistic expectation? And the last thing I want to say is clients, they know that there's going to be mistakes. They know that. There's going to be bugs, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be delays. Stuff's going to happen. I got kids, I got a family, stuff happens. But they will not tolerate a lack of communication. They did not sign up for that. They did not sign up for you to you're in the freaking barrel, right? and you're like, I don't want to talk to them. They didn't sign up for that. So just touch base with them, communicate with them. All right. Fire bad clients. Is anybody familiar with the 80-20-20 rule, which says that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients or whatever? The same is true of other things in business as well, including clients. So you might spend 80% of your negative mental energy on 20% of your clients. Fire them. Because don't be afraid, and in this scarcity mindset where if you get rid of them, you're not going to get another business. Get a freaking job. It's worst case scenario, you get a job because life is too damn short. You get these emails, right? Just a few things I just wanted to follow up on. Hey, checking in. This is really urgent. We have one client who sends urgent all the time. So it's not urgent. Nothing's urgent. Please reply. Please reply now. And then this one. You guys have never received that one, right? Like, that's me whenever somebody sends me an email that says, call me, right? And it's like, it's just a subject. Just like, end of the email. It's just, that's it. Fire them. Don't fire people who say call me, because there might be a legitimate reason, but fire clients who they have crazy expectations. They're not enjoyable to be around. And I'll do you one better. Don't just fire them. Refer them. Right? Send your bad clients to your competitors. Now you've won twice. You freed up time to delight the right clients and gotten competitors stuck with losses due to unproductive clients. That's a twofer right there. That's free. You can have that one. Don't be weird about money. All right, so the last couple points are speaking from my own experience. So it's sometimes the idea of like sending an invoice or something might be like, oh, I don't want to do that because it's weird. I don't want to ask them for money or whatever. But no, they got into this. Their expectations. Remember what they're expecting. They're expecting you to send them an invoice. They're happy to pay it. And if you put yourself in the situation of like, I'm absolutely happy to pay for the software as a service product that I use every single month, right? Same situation here. If they asked you for something, they're expecting an invoice. So send it is immediately after completing the project, because especially if you're working with a corporate client who has like a net 30. Good God. It's like, oh, thank you for doing the work, and it's going to be 30 days before we pay you. Let clients know when something is going to be out of scope. So just communicate that. Like, hey, just to let you know, what the changes you've just requested are going to be out of scope. So we got to talk about how we're going to handle that. Spend money on software if it will make your job easier. Think of it like this. If you're doing an hourly project and like somebody says, hey, I want to build this extra thing, and there's a tool that costs your hourly rate to do it. You just add that hour because you bought the software and you saved yourself something. It's like, but oftentimes as a developer, I would spend all this time like custom building something that did exactly what somebody wrote a plugin to do, and oftentimes it's worth spending money on a piece of software. Be really pragmatic about your communication with your clients. This is something I've learned. Whenever clients didn't pay their bills, I was always like, they didn't pay their invoice, right? The invoice is like, oh crap, it's 14 days overdue, 30 days overdue. Okay, how do you communicate with them on that? And give them the benefit of the doubt, because here's the thing. They're really busy. Remember, they have more money than they have time, so they missed it. Or they got it on their email and they meant to do it. I mean, how many times have you seen something and forgotten to do it because you were going to do it later? That's what they did, probably. If there's a problem, if they want to dispute the invoice, they'll let you know. So this is the email I sent to my clients. I said, hi, client. I was in the invoicing software and noticed this was overdue. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thanks. They pay it like that. Like, I've had some clients that want to dispute an invoice or something. But when they just forgot, this reminder here is the gentlest nudge, just to say, hey, just want to bring that to your attention. Not weird about it. Not like, oh, maybe you're mad. Make it easy for people to do business with you. Okay, so if someone's spending $10,000 with you or something, let them use their credit card, because convenience fees are rarely convenient. Accept credit cards, because it's like, I know that it's expensive to accept credit cards because you have to pay that fee. But like, just build it into your prices. Because like, whenever somebody if they can pay with a credit card, it greases the wheels for them to say yes, because they have a way to pay for the thing. And they get the points, like the air miles or whatever. If they want to fly over the country because they're doing business with you, that's fine. That's fine with me all day long. Use an invoicing software that has the ability for them to just click and pay. Or accept PayPal. I work with a lot of freelancers. A lot of the stuff is actually coming from that, because I get kind of irritated because I'm like, I gotta send you a damn check. I don't even know where my checkbook is. So I always wish, I'm like, just send me I just want to pay you through PayPal, but you don't. Okay. Offer to break up payments. So whenever you're talking to the client in the initial, whenever you send a proposal, hey, here's the amount. Just to let you know, we do accept all major credit cards, and we can break this up further to the terms. and pass on appropriate expenses, but don't pass on weird and inappropriate expenses. I work with a lot of contractors, like I said, and I had a designer ask me, she said, oh, we don't really use, she said, I know you guys like to use Dropbox, but I only have the free account, and so I don't have enough room to share my files because I have other stuff in there, so maybe, unless maybe you want to pay for the Dropbox? And I'm like, nope. I'm not paying for your Dropbox, you weirdo. Like, you charge me $50 an hour, just build it in. Like, anyway, the whole point is, like, look, just make it easy. Like, use softwares, use stuff. The next point is always be pitching. So here's the thing. When you're done with a client, assuming you've done all this stuff up until this point, they've had a fantastic 5-star experience with you. You want to keep that going. And you want to be creative about ways that you can continue to help them. So the other thing is, it's a pain in the ass to find another developer. And they don't want to. And if they can, even to have sometimes their internal people take over stuff, it's easier for them to just, continue to pay you. How can you continue to help them? And here's an idea. Recurring revenue. So I'm going to... my goal in what we do, we're a small company. We only have, there are only 4 employees, and we have contractors and stuff that we do stuff with. But we're a small company, so we don't need a whole lot. So my goal is to get us all on recurring revenue that covers all of our bills. So I don't have to worry. I don't have to oh crap, we only have 4 months of runway if, over the last couple of years, we've changed a lot of the way that we look at recurring revenue. Instead of just the big items, we look at smaller items too. And so this is kind of how we might break it up. So tier 1, which maybe you have 10 clients here, and that's $2,000 a month. So that's $240,000 annual revenue. Just 10 clients that you serve every single month, and you're responsive to them, whatever they ask you to do, then to a certain extent, right? A lot of the stuff that we do too is marketing, kind of ongoing stuff. So we always kind of have campaigns that we're doing for someone, tweaks that we're doing, marketing automation stuff. But then there are other clients who maybe they don't need that intensive service. They wouldn't accept the $2,000 a month. That's too high, but they would do something lower because they want to be able to have send us a request, a super simple request, and then we'll take care of that. And if you look at that, that's 60 grand in the course of a year with 10 of those clients. And then if you're thinking of a support package, which is just using a software as a service to automate, backing up their site and keeping WordPress plugins updated. Managed WP is a fantastic tool for that. This is yet another way that you can continue to and all of this is actually possible with a small team to do all of that, totaling $336,000 in revenue, and it's all recurring. That's not including any additional projects that you might do. So, the last thing that this is my last point, and that is to create a mastermind group. Do you guys know what a mastermind group is? So there's people here at the conference that you might meet, and if they live in the same place as you, it might be a good idea, if you don't know other people who are doing the same thing as you, to create a group of people who meet together. I have a group of guys that we meet together. We're all business owners, and we call it Beer and Business. And those guys, over the last 3 years, have been so incredibly helpful. Not just in, hey guys, what would you do in this situation? But when I was going through that thing whenever we weren't making money and we were spending it, to have guys who are hey man, hang in there. It's hard, but you'll get through it. That knew. Because being a business owner is a lot like being a parent. I have 3 kids. It's not a full-time job. It's an all-the-time job. It's a never-ending, nonstop job. So having a group of people that you can get together with on a regular basis that knows the struggles that you have, that maybe are smarter than you, and maybe they're just doing something different than you. It's really, really good, and I highly suggest it. So the theme of my talk overall here is this is scary stuff, but hopefully these 10 things, if you take this into your business and your life, I think that it'll enable you to crawl out of that barrel a little easier. So, so I am Jay Hansen on Twitter. I'm not really on it that much, but I'll respond to you and stuff. And you can get the talk, these notes, and also all of the things, some of the stuff that I've talked about our systems. I'm actually going to package that up and send it to you. If you go here and you just put in your email, I'll follow up with you via email with that. Outthinkgroup.com/WNYC. No, WCNYC. Anyway, I think we have time for questions if anybody has a question, but I don't really know that. I don't know anything. But.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Anthony Neeple here. Just a quick question. What are some of the invoicing software you've used or you used over the years you would recommend for someone, various stages of the game?
Yeah. So I use Harvest because it's invoicing software and time tracking, so like it's all built in. But just getting started, like I think even PayPal has invoicing, and if you're doing bookkeeping, most of the tools for bookkeeping will have invoicing in them already, and most of them want to connect to credit cards. So in fact, if you're using almost any software as a service that does bookkeeping, it's probably going to constantly try to get you to sign up with their credit card system and process with that. I love Harvest though; it's a great system. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. So I've worked as a freelancer for a while-ish, and I always I had the same problem that you've experienced, which was like, you hadn't sold to people. And so my question is that I'll talk to other people, other freelancers will be like, oh, word of mouth, or like how did you get your clients, and like how did you build on that, and sort of like that upper tier level of clients as well?
So there's a couple, as far as getting new clients, so at this point where we are now, we are, most of our clients come to us by referral because we put our name, our link in the bottom of every single site we build. We've never not done it, and we've never had a client ask us not to do it. So it's it's like whenever we build a site, it's at the bottom. And most of our clients are pretty well known, and like people will follow the link to our site and then contact us. Or we'll have word of mouth referrals that come in, and usually whenever those come in, those are hot leads, and those usually turn into work. Early, in the very beginning, we didn't have a lot of work, or we didn't have a lot of well-known clients. But here's something that we did, and mileage varies. And again, like talking about value here, we would do work. We would pitch pretty well-known people. We work with New York Times best-selling authors, like a lot of them, like authors you've probably read. So but we're just this tiny firm in Lynchburg. But we would reach out to people whom we wanted to work with, whom we wanted to leverage the work that we did. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Guy Kawasaki is, but we reached out to him and we said, hey, you have a blog. It looks terrible. For free, we'll redesign it for you. And then we now have Guy Kawasaki. Number one, developed a relationship with Guy Kawasaki. He referred work to us, and he himself was happy with his experience with us. And that turned into more work, paying work, right? So the idea is you say, hey, I'll do this for you, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you about some other ways that I might be able to help you. Here's the problem with that. So that's a good way to kind of leverage a contact or a person or the work that you've done and kind of build out, I've done this for other people. And that really has to do with marketing more than actually doing the work. But when you do that, though, the client doesn't value your work as much because it was so cheap. So that's the warning there. As far as follow-up, like getting work if you already have some clients, is asking your clients for referrals. So hey, just want to let you know we have a slot to do some more design work, and wanted to know if you knew of anybody who would want that. Just send it my way. But honestly, it's been so long since we've been there because of what we do, and again because I try to tie up everything with recurring revenue. I actually get into the barrel whenever somebody contacts me to work with them because I know that as soon as I get off the phone, they're going to want to be like, send me a proposal. I'm like, I don't know who to do now. So. Anyway, so I don't know if I'm super helpful there, but yeah.
Hello, thanks for the talk. George Hoffman. Are you happy with the size of the company, or are you trying to grow it at this point?
So I'm happy with the size of the company. In fact, I like being small. What the challenge with being small, well, the challenge with what we do, I mean, when our clients come on, we read their books. Like, we get really into what they do. It's a very high-touch operation. So we can't really, like, it's hard to scale that. What I'm trying to do is actually like get into the create products and information products like that. Managing people is extremely taxing, literally, because you have to pay taxes. But but it's extremely taxing, and whenever things are working, then it's, everything's good. But the bigger you get like that, the more things that can kind of go wrong, or a client's dissatisfied and you're not able to be involved. So you have to really kind of have a plan to scale, and I'm just not that sophisticated yet. There are other people here who would tell you scale all day long. My goal is to run a company that we do meaningful work and we enjoy ourselves, and that doesn't really need a big team. And because at the end of the day, I want to make enough money to have a happy life and enjoy my family. So scaling is not really my priority. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious, how do you determine what you charge your clients?
So there's two things. One, we look at if it's a project, we look at the amount of time involved. So if whenever based on what I did last time, I go, I want to make more than I did last time. I'm going to charge more. Or if we're not available, if we have limited availability, and somebody the price is going to continue to ratchet up. Because if I just sell, again, that whole price thing, if I sell at a low price and somebody just says yes, now I have to deal with all of this thing, and I'm kicking myself for not raising the price. So I try to price to the point where I'm really happy with it and really enjoying the process, but I'm not charging so much that it's going to be a no. So it's always this delicate balance to walk the line. We experiment with price all the time. I mean, and everybody has to do it. So I'm not really good at it. But usually the way that you transition is you go, oh, we charge this much. Just do it. The next person you talk to. Anyway, yeah.
With regard to reoccurring revenue, I have a couple of clients who've literally come to me and said, we want a retainer agreement. Mm-hmm. But I have had an issue with clients that I then propose because it's a good thing. And the constant question is, well, what am I getting for $150 a month? What am I getting for $350 a month? What am I getting for $2,000 a month? So what are you offering at your tiers?
That's a good question. So our lowest tier, we offer that your site's going to be it's going to be backed up, offsite backups, malware scanning, hosting. That's basically it. So it's not that much, but it's hosted with us. That's kind of the idea. Is it's hosted with us. We'll take care of anything if we'll make sure it's good. At the next tier, 500, is that same package, but you're also if you want to send a newsletter, then we'll handle that. At 2,000 or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4, those are higher touch things. So that's going to be we're strategically creating stuff for you. We're running campaigns for you. We're launching books for you. Stuff like that. We're launching products, we're creating products. Now, some of that is a little bit more expensive and a little bit more time intensive. I think we're out of time. But so the higher the expense, the higher touch. And my goal is to get the whole the $500 a month, that stuff should be something that you can hire someone else to do. So that's where, if you're talking about scaling, I'd scale that way. But I have a hard time scaling to higher touch stuff. So you can increase the amount of throughput that you can do by having tasks that you can develop a system that anyone can run. But whenever somebody specific has to run the system, it's more expensive and it's more time intensive too. So, so yeah, our low price is mainly software as a service. It's software as a service as a service. It'll change your life because it's awesome. It's like amazing just to have that stuff managed for you. So that's the end of my time. Thank you guys. I think, right? Is it the end of my time? Yeah. Thank you so much.